bell hooks identified that even when I went with my partner to some of our therapy sessions, it was difficult for me to hear the harm that he had experienced, or it was difficult for me to hear his emotional reality because it disrupted my perception of who it is that I believe that he was supposed to be for me. It disrupted my perspective of what it is that men were, right? Mm. So whenever, and I've been thinking about this as well, I don't believe that we actually examine, or I don't believe that it's very common, that we identify patriarchy as not only just a system of operation, but a system of class, okay. Right? So there is the retort that men created the patriarchy. I don't disagree, but which men? Right? And it's not
That's important. That's an important distinction.
Yes. It's not just white men. It is wealthy, land-owning, hoarding white men. It is the white men who are in power, right? Patriarchy is a system of power, first and foremost. So when we have these marginalized identities of men who are engaging in this system of patriarchy and getting a negative return on their investment, that's also the reason why a number of men are angry, because they're participating in this system that was not designed for you to participate in. It was designed to extract labor from you and sell you this dream. The same way that y'all be selling women these dreams, it sold you a dream that said if you work hard enough, if you dominate enough women, and if you make enough money, you can be the king of your castle as well. You can be the absolute king of your castle. You can be the dictator of your nation with absolutely no question, with absolutely no regard, and with absolutely without having to yield to be questioned or to be subpoenaed by anybody in your nation. But once again, in order to maintain that type of dynamic, you have to be violent. Mm-hmm. You have to be violent. You have to be, right? And that violence requires the subjugation of other people around you. But once again, once you start going into marginalized identities, especially within black men, if black people as a totality have a history of resistance, if black people in totality have a history of pushing back against authoritative spaces or authoritative structures, what makes you think that as a black man who has less access to these resources, who has less access to these implementations, who was not even considered to be a man when the patriarchy was constructed. Mm-hmm. If you want me to be very honest, black men were considered to be the antithesis of patriarchy by constructing them as insatiable beasts. You cannot be a patriarch because you're not a man. Mm-hmm. Once again, going back to the model of deficit, you are angry because you are attempting to engage yourself in a system that at its core is antithetical to you. You are not able to access all of these things in order to make yourself a complete man. It's not just black men, but black men are on the complete opposite side of this sliding scale. Because the closer you get to, and I said this on Tripp's podcast, the masculinity that you are attempting to obtain requires your dehumanization. Even if you're talking about wealthy white men, in order for them to maintain and retain that wealth, they have to consistently be a slave to capitalism, constantly. Mm-hmm. They have to consistently be outside of it. They have to consistently forego their own well-being in order to continue to maintain the system. There are multiple studies that indicate there are very wealthy men who are completely and totally soul shattered. Why? Because is lonely at the top.
Let's talk about the loneliness epidemic.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is a great segue into that. What do you mean by the male loneliness epidemic? What exactly is that? Why do you think it's so prevalent right now? Why are we even talking about it? I know that was very loaded, but.
So there are a number of ways to look at this, right? The male loneliness epidemic. So there are three things that are happening concurrently.
Okay.
Right? Male loneliness epidemic. Folks in the United States are not having sex as much as they used to. And our birth rate has declined, right? Whenever we talk about statistics, whenever we talk about studies, and whenever we talk about information that's presented and published in the United States, there is a part that you have to critically analyze from the perspective of propaganda, right? Okay. So the male loneliness epidemic if you recognize the conversations that are happening around the male loneliness epidemic, it's always in terms of relationships. Mostly. It's mostly in terms of relationships. Mostly in terms of relationships with women. Men are not having enough sex. Men are not going out on enough dates. Men are not the least talked about portion of that is platonic friendships. The least discussed portion of that is platonic friendships. Platonic friendships, building community, being in proximity with other individuals who have your best interests at heart is the most psychologically stabilizing portion of anybody's life outside of a relationship, outside of a romantic relationship, right? Because even in relationship modalities, when we talk about a healthy relationship dynamic between two people, romantic relationship, we talk about you having a life outside of your partner. We talk about you having hobbies, having friends, all of these things outside of your partner.
Right.
Because your partner cannot be everything to you all at once. They cannot, right? So the male loneliness epidemic, in my mind, is a descriptor to identify how it is that men are not receiving, how it is that men are not engaging in close relationships, whether they be platonic or romantic, based upon the traditional masculinist ideology of hyper-individualism. But once again, I've said this before too. We believe that hyper-independence is a trauma response that is explicitly identified to women, and it's not. It's not. Hyper-independence is a trauma response irrespective of your gender. Hyper-independence is a trauma response based upon abandonment, it is based upon neglect, and it is based upon perceiving that the emotional proximity to somebody is a threat due to previous harm. Right? So, very rarely do we talk about men developmentally. Very rarely. What's going on with black men? What's going on with black men? What's going on with black men? We don't talk about black boys. We don't talk about black boys until they start, once again, becoming problems that need to be fixed.
Right.
Right? If we look at how it is that men develop over time, over their lifespan, we do not support the soft skills that are necessary in order for men to build healthy relationships because, once again, we identify these things with femininity. We identify because there was a, Michael B. Jordan just put out an article, or he did an interview where they asked him about his pattern of embracing his co-stars. He was like, bro, because I love them. What do you mean? Like, I love them. Like, I embrace my brothers because I love them, right? And people in the comments was like, yeah, but you ain't gotta. But men are touch deprived. Men will say, my love language is physical touch. And they are using it to leverage it in order to, once again, be fucking. But a number of men chase that sexual contact because, once again, from a traditional masculinist contextualization, I cannot engage in love without domination. In the way that I show you that I love you is through control. It is through management. It is not through connection. It is through being a point of unlimited transaction. But at some point in time, you are going to feel used. You are going to feel underappreciated. You are going to feel as if though people don't appreciate what it is that you do. But once again, that's emotional. You spent your entire life spewing that you don't need this. So why would I give it to you? That's another reason why we're so angry, because we have not learned how to be honest about what it is that we need, because we believe that if we are honest about it, once again, the women in my life will rather watch me down this horse than to get off of it.
We need a break, Odi. You ain't gonna keep doing it. You know the tradition by now. You've been here many times. You know, when you start spewing all this stuff and you give people too many gems back to back, you don't give them a chance, you're going to have these freaking people messaging me like, my man just passed out in the car.
Pass the collection plate type shit.
Yo, my man just fainted. He said, somebody finally said all the things I've been thinking but couldn't get out. Nah, man. Listen, bro. You cooking right now, bro.
Yeah, G, and it's
you cooking.
I also want to identify that in some parts, the male loneliness epidemic is, we as men need to be more accountable to how it is that we perpetuate some of the outcomes that we have.
Explain that, yeah.
So going back to the example that I gave about you've been saying the entire time that you don't need this, but the reality of the situation is that you want it, you just don't know how to say it. I've had men as clients say to me in their relationships, I don't need to be buttered up. I don't need all of these nice words, X, Y, Z, and A, B, and C. I just need her to stop telling me what it is that I don't do. Once again, going back to this deficit model. I say, okay, that's cool. But what you are asking for is still an affirmation. What you are asking for is still for somebody to appreciate what it is that you do.
Facts.
What you are asking for is for a reduction in criticism. You are still asking to be affirmed. You are still asking for them to say things to you that are not necessarily of applause, but of humanization. You are asking somebody to humanize your efforts, right?
Right.
And on the other side of that, like, one of the conversations that I can't stand is this conversation. Well, it's not that I can't stand it. It's a very annoying conversation. Is this idea of the bare minimum, right? And the reason why I say this conversation is it can be annoying is because a part of this conversation rests squarely in the wheelhouse of trauma. What do I mean when I say this? There are a number of people, both men and women, who will say, why would I thank you for doing what you're supposed to do? Why would I thank you for you supposed to do this? You supposed to do that. I'm like, I know for a fact that you got that from your parents. I know for a fact that you grew up in a house where they withheld affirmation from you. But because you've forgotten what it felt like to not have affirmation because you numbed yourself to it, now giving somebody else affirmation feels like doing too much.
I tell my girl all the time, I need you to tell me I'm good. I'm doing a good job. I don't got no problem telling her that. When she walk in, I give her a little second after she come back home from work. But if I just worked on something for the whole day to make sure that you could walk in here and it was done, I listen, baby, I'm gonna need you to say something. Bro, we in the crib. I just did like some electrical work and stuff. Taught myself how to do it so we don't have to pay an electrician.
Mr. Fix It, yeah.
Hell yeah, absolutely. I told her, I said, babe, I need you to come take a look at this. When you're ready, I need you to come take a look at this because I need that affirmation. I tell her all the time, when I do something, I need the affirmation. And I don't got no problem with that because I know I need it. I know I need it. I know how it makes me feel. And I also know what the flip side of that, how that makes me feel. When you're sitting there working on something, you literally sacrificing time that you could have been putting into your dreams or whatever the case may be or other things to work on something for your shorty or the household for them to just walk by it and pretend like it didn't even happen. That bothers me. That, like you said, it hurts. And I don't got no problem letting shorty know, yo, I need you to affirm me for what I just did.
Sometimes I know you feel like you ain't got nobody to speak to. A shoulder to lean on somebody you could preach to. No, you need to hear it, my brother.